It's a lot of. All right, folks, it is 6 p.m. So I will call this meeting of the Board of Education to order. If you would all join me in saying the pledge, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, Secretary Roll.
Christopher Abel.
Here.
Viv Hansen.
Here.
Matthew Phipps.
Present.
Keith Shaw.
Here.
Matthew Spalding.
Here.
Carrie Trask.
Here.
Tony Vostelica.
She said something,
Yep.
it just didn't come up.
Thank you.
Sounds like a Walt Disney character.
Are you muted, Tony?
You okay to go?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were, I didn't know if you were waiting for confirmation.
I was
there.
just watching. He's present virtually.
Yes, I can see that, yes.
Yep.
Okay. With that completed, we now have public input. We have a number of requests, but we can certainly accommodate everybody at 5 minutes. The first request is from 2000 Johnston Drive, but we don't have the person's name, so if you want to come up. Pardon me?
Christine DeMai.
Okay, you want to come on up?
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you get to 1 minute, I'll just give you a 1 second.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. I watched a video last night of this board, and I was embarrassed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 2 board members acting like 2 children because one board member wants to stick up for parents. Now, how asinine is that? For one, Carrie Trask, you would stab your mother in the back to get yourself ahead. It's embarrassing. You always have done your little thing, and now we got another one, Mr. Bill. You guys nailed Matt Spalding to the wall for sticking up for parents' rights. What the heck kind of crap are you thinking? Why do you think this country is in the shape it's in? Because we don't want to, parents come to school and have a problem. What's the first thing you're going to do if they try to stand up for themselves? Well, there's nothing in the standard. Nothing in the standard at all. Why? Because you guys decide to take it out. You don't do that. The parents have the right to defend what they believe and what they want their kids to grow up as. And most of the parents, Manitowoc, want them to grow up properly. You guys deserve to give him a huge apology. I watched that whole crap show. It was embarrassing and insulting. And I would suggest you guys grow the heck up, because as easy as you got on here, you can get off. Thank you. That's my time.
Thank you. Next, it's Jennifer Hegner. Nope, we got it all right here.
Okay.
We do like you state your name though, so.
So I've never done this, sorry. So my name's Jennifer Hegner. I actually work in the school district, but I just wanted to, throw out my opinion, I guess. So first of all, good evening. I stand before you today to discuss a pressing matter that directly impacts the future of our community and most importantly, our students. We need school buildings that meet the needs of our 21st century students. Clinging to the past and relying on memories of what was will not serve our children well. We must embrace change and progress, echoing Wisconsin's proud motto, forward. One critical area we need to focus on is the growth and development of our STEM programs and tech education departments. Not every student will or should attend a 4-year college. We need to provide robust educational opportunities for those who choose different paths. Enhancing these programs will ensure that all students have the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in an increasingly technological world. Currently, our tech departments at the middle school and high school are dated and not reaching their fullest potential. We are surrounded by communities that have made significant investments in their tech departments, which could lead to a further decline in our student enrollment. Our schools in their current state can be quite depressing, sending a disheartening message to our students. Additionally, our school buildings do not meet the needs of our students and staff. The lack of air conditioning, for instance, not only creates an uncomfortable learning environment, but also shortens the lifespan of our technology. We need facilities that inspire collaboration, innovation, and enthusiasm for learning. Our students deserve buildings that support and enhance their educational experience. We should not be investing money merely to bring our buildings up to par. Bringing our buildings up to code would have been best for students back in the 1950s, not for 2024 and beyond. Let's focus our resources on attracting families by creating schools that are modern, attractive, and safe. To achieve these goals, we might have to consider closing some schools. It's okay to close chapters and start new ones. This change could bring the excitement and renewal our community needs. If we keep living in the past, we will stay in the past, and that does not help our students who want to compete for jobs that do not even exist today. We need to start thinking about how we want to educate our students for the future, not for the past. Possibly closing the district office might be a start in trying to recoup some dollars, but it does not solve the immediate problems within our schools. The board needs to take a swift action in either closing schools, remodeling schools, or rebuilding schools. The more the board delays decisions regarding our buildings, the more expensive it gets. I understand the need for community involvement. Okay, I'm a little exaggerating, but when there's a car accident on Highway 43, we don't wait for community involvement to solve the problem. Instead, we trust the experts to do what is right. I understand the scenario I presented is a bit of an exaggeration, but we literally have buildings that are not safe. So we too need to trust the experts to do their jobs. Schools do not make money, so we need to be responsible with how we invest taxpayers' money. In addition, we have to think about teacher and staff retention. We can keep buildings open because it is what the community wants, but that might come at a cost of teacher and staff pay increases. As a teacher, I like to see my salary increase year to year and not have a salary freeze because we want to keep a school open. In my opinion, we need to close at least one elementary school at this point in order to ensure staff retention. Regardless of where our schools are located, transportation remains a necessity for our students, whether they are transported by their guardians or utilize our bus system. The reality is that modern, well-located schools are essential. It is not just about getting students to school, but about where they arrive and the environment they enter. By investing in updated facilities, we provide not just a destination, but an engaging, future-ready learning space that meets our students' needs and prepares them for success. Let's attract families with schools that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also fully equipped with the tools and technologies that foster innovation and learning. Let's ensure our buildings aren't just structures, but hubs of creativity and progress. In conclusion, let's put our students first by investing in the facilities they need to thrive. By doing so, we will foster a brighter future for our community, ensuring that Manitowoc remains an attractive and competitive place to live and learn. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, next is Dana Getz.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank Carrie, Chris, Keith, and Paul for their logical and educational focused approach in evaluating decisions that are to be made in the best interest of MPSD students and families. Also thanks to Heidi, Katie, and Lee for careful research and law as it pertains to public education, policy, and procedure. Your dedication and commitment to educational best practice is appreciated. These are essentially necessary in achieving best outcomes for our students. This evening, I wanted to address the removal of the Parents' Bill of Rights from the controversial topics in classroom policy. Having been both a product of the MPSD and a parent of MPS students for over 2 decades, not once have I ever felt that I was in a position in which my parental rights were being put into question when it came to the education of my children. With the discussion with my parents, I am also happy to report that they as well felt confident in our academic journey within the MPSD as students. Seeing as how 2 generations were educated in the district without a parental bill of rights, I really do question the need for it. I have spent considerable time reviewing the parental bill of rights documents, and I have a few statements to make regarding that document. 1, name, nickname, pronoun. Each year, we as parents need to confirm the demographic information of our students. This includes identifying a preferred name of which our student would be addressed. This in turn becomes part of Infinite Campus. This is the information that teachers use in developing nameplates, rosters, seating charts, or used in taking attendance. Open classrooms. I have yet to meet a teacher within the district who doesn't value parental involvement. In any of my children's classroom, we also felt welcome and were encouraged to engage, to become engaged members of our students' learning communities. Curriculum review. I have yet to meet a teacher within the district who doesn't value parental involvement. In any of my children's classrooms, we also felt welcome and were encouraged to become engaged members of our students' learning communities. Curriculum review. I have never felt as though I couldn't connect with a teacher to inquire or review my students' curriculum or academic work. In my students' earlier years, parents were encouraged to review texts, homework, and assignments. Quite often, this involved a parent's signature to provide teachers the confidence that would be actively involved. Conferences. In every school, the district, from 4K to high school, conferences are offered 2 times yearly to allow parents and teachers the opportunity to discuss the student's academic progress. Chromebooks. A parent has always had the right to opt out of function capabilities on a student's Chromebook. If a parent doesn't feel comfortable with what a student has access to, all they need to do is connect with the school's principal to make arrangements with IT. It should be noted that functionality on a Chromebook does differ depending on the network internet that they are attached to. So it may function differently at home than it does at school. Books. A parent has always had the right to block a student's ability to check out a specific book in a school library. Again, all the parent needs to do is call the library and make that arrangement with the librarian. Open channels of communication. This has always existed and is highlighted in the student handbook. If a parent has a concern, it can be easily resolved by working up the chain of command. Bathrooms, locker rooms. I understand that all schools offer gender-neutral changing spaces. I understand that a procedure is in place if a student and their family would like to use a restroom or locker room that they feel more comfortable with, that they work within the school to find a solution. This begins with offering access to gender-neutral facilities. Participation in WIAA sanctioned sports for the trans athlete. I understand the district defers this to WIAA, and that should be the district's choice should it be the district's choice to head in another direction. The district is at risk of losing their eligibility to participate district-wide in all WIAA sanctioned sports. The policy for transgender athletes is available online, and it is quite comprehensive in student requirements. The WIAA does consult mental health and medical experts in drafting their policies and procedures. Interestingly enough, what is missing in the Parents' Bill of Rights are statements that actually pertain to a student's safety and rights, such things as FERPA, confidentiality, sharing of data, sharing of student information such as images, addresses, schools of attendance, the right to be taught in an environment free of discrimination, the right to have essential needs be met within your schools, the right to an interpreter, the right to an IEP or 504 being met in the classroom. All of the Parents' Bill of Rights has done is once again set a tone in which parents and community members are set to question the collaborative relationship and partnerships and question why a political agenda is once again being brought into the district in the first place, when in reality, what is more important and has always existed is the collaborative relationship, the collaborative relationship that exists between students and teachers and parents in the district and the community members as a whole, and has always been the foundation of what is the MPSD. Sound policy and procedure is already in place to protect all students. We need to put our trust in just that. While I'm not against a parental bill of rights in some capacity, I do feel as though working documents such as a bill of rights would be best served in a student homebook and not in a policy. It's a resource parents should reference when they have a question, but also serve as a tool that holds them accountable and responsible to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Post?
Thank you for having the public information sessions. I'm glad that people came to be informed and to see a true partisan professional discussion with good role modeling of professionals working together for all the people. That they felt comfortable enough to ask questions and come up with ideas and realizing that they are being heard. They can also bring issues forward at any time that gives to that. Being honest, truthful, serious, and prepared. Know the school's history. Know the city's history. Where are you going? What are you working with? We've always did it this way. How can we bring about positive, realistic change? We can't stay stagnant. We need to change and evolve, but it has to be done in a comfortable and informing and involving the public way. Education is key to success. Students need and deserve to receive a great education while they are in school with their peers, not finish it later. This means they are active in community and it will carry forward when they know they have achieved all this when they are adults. It will bring them into adulthood to be a positive, producing, independent adult that can also work together with other people. You need to do a mindset check. That's what I was always telling the kids, do a mindset check. That is so important. For me, when I look at team now, I think today everyone's attitude and actions matter. Compared to together, everyone achieves more. You put those two together, you have your individual and you have togetherness. Everyone has a place and we all see it differently. Let's embrace community and acceptance. Never be afraid of questioning. If you don't know the truth, strive to find it. That leads to your freedom, which we all are obligated to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, it's Crystal Meyer.
Good evening, Crystal Meyer. I'm the chapter chair for Manitowoc's Moms for Liberty. I'm here today to talk about Title IX. There are 9 current lawsuits in 26 states that are in litigation over the Title IX rewrite, arguing it is unconstitutional. After all, the rewrite Title IX was without congressional approval. The current injunction in the 10th District Court indicates a minimum the case has merit. Moms for Liberty is part of the lawsuit in the 10th District Court of Kansas, where the judge granted a preliminary injunction. On July 20, 2024, an updated memorandum and order was filed by the 10th District Court regarding Title IX. The court clarified that all Moms for Liberty members who have children in our schools, current and prospective, are protected from the Department of Education enforcing the new regulations. The following schools are on the current list: Franklin, Jackson, Jefferson, McKinley, Lincoln, Madison. The following schools are on the list to be added: Washington, Wilson, Monroe, Riverview. The list is updated every few weeks. Prior to passing this policy, have you communicated to all the parents in the district so they are aware of and will understand the impact this policy will have on their children? I would ask the board to report out what the cost and timeline will be to train your teachers and students on these new regulations and make sure there's a specific line item so a total implementation cost can be recorded. I would think we would want to track this in case this gets determined it's unconstitutional and unable to move forward, thereby deeming all dollars spent wasted taxpayer money by the board members who vote to go forward with this. We do have policies in place for harassment, bullying, and discrimination. If you choose to pass this policy and not follow the court order, you will be in violation and you'll have to ask yourself, will our insurance company cover this lawsuit? Will I be individually liable for a lawsuit? Due to the complexity of this lawsuit and others that are making their way through the court system, we are hopeful that the school board would refrain from passing this new policy until additional guidance from the courts are crystallized. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bradenman.
Hi, Graham Meyer, Vice Chair of Moms for Liberty, Manitowoc County. Over the past few years, parents across the nation have become more informed about what is taking place and the materials provided to students in our schools. In order to ensure a safe and innocent education for students, one step is a proper library plan needs to be developed. We're presented with an amendment to the library plan to prevent inappropriate materials from being accessible to school children. One board member took exceptional denial to it. Comments were made such as, no grade level, not even a senior in high school, and he doesn't see the danger or a major threat to the moral foundation to the generation. When trying to compare All Boys Aren't Blue and Shakespeare, it doesn't need to be said, but in this day and age it does, there is a difference between filth and Shakespeare. Take a look at All Boys Aren't Blue, available to high school students in our district. It is a novel that talks about watching porn and having various kinds of sex. Go to page 266 for multiple example quotes. He reached his hand down and pulled out my dick. He quickly went to giving me head. His body felt great in my mouth. As an avid porn watcher, the only thing I knew about anal sex previously was that it was painful. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. I know reading that made certain adults in this room feel uncomfortable, so why would you be okay with kids reading this? If you listen to the mainstream media consistently, you may have been indoctrinated to wanting to shout book banner by now. The phrase book ban has become a highly political rallying cry used by child sexualizing activists to provide pornographic books to children while trying to shame others for calling them out on it. Actual book bannings are when books are destroyed and removed from all sections of society. If adults want to read these books, that is their own business, but it becomes a problem when they actively call on children to read these books or read them to children. It is not just pornography these activists use the phrase book ban for. They also use to describe citizens wanting to keep books talking about gender identity and transgenderism away from children. Children are susceptible to whatever an adult and book tell them. When they read or are read these books, their developing brains are confused. These books throw out basic biology like gender is binary. They get in their head that they were born in the wrong body and want to transition. What we want is to ensure children's sections of libraries only have age-appropriate books. These books containing radical gender ideology and pornography need to be kept away from children at all costs. It is time for elected officials to stop being ordered what to do by the allied cult faction of the far left and start doing what's best for the students of our district.
Did that exhaust public input? Anybody else? Anybody else? I will call public input closed. Thank you all. Next, we have any requests to amend the agenda? Anybody who has a different schedule? Any requests? Not seeing any? Okay, and as always, I ask, we have a lot on the agenda. I ask all of us to please procedurally, if we're gonna have a motion and a second, let's have that so that then we can have the discussion. We can have general discussion in advance of it and try to keep the conversation moving forward rather than the same issue back and forth. Okay, next it's the consent agenda, which is always exciting. Any requests to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I don't want anything removed. I just want, in the personnel and policy
Your name
committee
is spelled
meeting.
wrong.
My name is spelled.
I've seen that
My name is spelled right some of the time and wrong some of the time. But, you know.
Oh, you mean in the minutes?
Yeah, in the minutes, yeah.
So without requesting to amend it, you'll just trust that that'll get fixed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Remove the personnel revolt, please.
Okay, so A3 is going to be removed. Anything else?
6D and 8A.
So you want D, personnel report?
Yeah, that's and 8A.
That's not part of consent agenda, so it'll be out there anyway.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
So I have two things. Last call. All right, so the two things you are not consenting to if you vote aye are A3, the August 5th, 2024 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting minutes,
Mhm.
and D, the personnel report. Otherwise, for everything else, all those in favor of consent signify by saying aye. And opposed, say nay. Hearing none, all the others are approved. We will now go to the August 5th, 2024 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting minutes. Mr. Mills.
I just wanted the personnel report, not
Oh,
Oh, not the minutes?
you didn't want the minutes?
no.
Okay,
I just-
would you be kind enough to motion then to approve it?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
I messed that up and you're
Yeah.
fixing it. I'll second. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, those are approved. Moving on to the personnel report. I'm sorry I misunderstood, sir.
No problem. I just wanted
Okay.
to give-
So personnel report.
I just want to give the floor to Mike and give a little update about how things are going in the summer. I know it's crunch time coming here, and just wanted to hear from you.
It definitely is crunch time. Let me swing right down to the bottom, if I may, relative to our position, to kind of give you an update on the staffing and kind of where we're at right now. So we have filled the high school ELA position with an emergency employee, just so you know. Grade 4K, grade 5K, we're working on right now. We hope to have some possible offers before the end of the week. Same with the grade 3. Mathematics at the middle school, I've talked to Terry Brenner about that, and it looks like we're going to collapse a few sections and maybe have a couple of overloads to take care of that. Reading, we have one elementary position left for the Act 20 reading situation, and Heidi's been working on that all summer. There's probably a good chance we're not going to fill that, at least in the near future. We don't see that happening. Our speech language pathologist, we have one person who we are in the process of, it's going to be a contracted service, remote, person's in Florida, and we're working on that situation. That'll still leave us one shy of the SLP situation. And special education, Katie Eichner has done a wonderful job of working her magic with the FTEs that we have to work with. And right now, if I have this correct, Katie, we have one spec ed vacancy at Franklin. And Katie has, this is the good news, who knows, I think 5 interviews lined up this week. So with a little luck, we'll have one good one on that over there.
Thanks, Mike, for
So-
all of your help.
So that's kind of where we're at relative to the teaching scenario. Obviously, we have some support positions still hanging out there, a few custodial type of positions, some para positions, that type of stuff. But we're working as hard as we can to fill the teaching positions first, the para positions second, and then after that, we work on the other pieces. So does that help, Matt?
Yeah, have you been in communication with other districts? Just their HRs kind of,
That is so interesting you brought that up. So,
there's a caveat to it. I said,
oh,
so I wanted to know, is this localized in Manitowoc County only, or is this?
well, Friday, Jennifer Blake Krieger, who's my HR specialist down there, she and I, she went on the weekend. She looked at about 30 different districts in the state. For example, Green Bay was one, Madison was one, comparable school districts, and a number of smaller school districts. And if I remember correctly, out of all those school districts, there was one small school district that had zeros, meaning 0 vacancies. Give you some examples. I believe Green Bay had like 34 teaching vacancies. Madison had 75 special education vacancies. They're a big district, you know, that type of stuff. So this is not localized. This is a state issue. Matter of fact, it would be really interesting to have somebody go on to weekend, take all 442 school districts, determine how many vacancies we have right now statewide, because I think our communities and our public would be shocked at the difficult times we're having filling teaching positions today. I truly do.
Thank you for all your work you're doing, and keep on pulling those rabbits out of the hat.
It's a team effort. I mean, we've
I
got
understand.
great principals working, directors working, so, yeah, thank you.
That's all I have for you. Thank you for your presentation.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, just thank you for your job today. I went today, had an opportunity to go to that new teacher breakfast and meet some of the new staff, so nice job of that presentation. Thanks for getting them acclimated to the district and presenting them to each other and introducing their mentors. Very nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
One quick question. Should I be concerned about section 1 resignations? I can clearly see that it's putting together resignations from essentially 2.5, 3 months. You know, but should I be worried? Or is this pretty typical?
I don't know if it's typical or not typical, but, you know, some of those situations have certain dynamics to them. There's a couple of people that we've lost in there. A spec ed teacher, the English teacher, the 4K to 3. Yeah, those were disappointing. They all had their reasons for going where they were going. A lot of them are trying to get closer to family, different situations. But I mean, they didn't leave us because they were disgruntled, to my knowledge.
It's just the timing of when opportunities opened up.
The timing is hard. You know, I mean, it's hard at this time because, you know, the earlier you can get out in front of things, and that's what we tried to do here in Manitowoc. We were out there in April looking for, you know, filling positions. But as time goes by, you get into August, the candidate pools are very shallow, and the qualifications are sometimes not as strong as what you'd like.
Mike, are there districts that are offering incentives to hire on for these tough jobs that seem to be unfilled?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Keith. Because Katie and I have had some discussions regarding that matter for special education. And one of the things that I would like to do, and we're working on this toward the end of this week, and that is take a number of school districts that are comparables to us and put out a survey to them relative to special education. You know, do you offer a hiring bonus? Do you offer any other types of retention factors? And trying to find some information like you're gathering to see if there are things going on out there that we're not aware of that maybe we should consider.
Like in math, the sciences?
I mean, Sheboygan, we do know this, Sheboygan for their special education offers a $4,000 signing bonus and then a $4,000 and then a $3,500 stipend in addition to that for certain positions that are considered, and I don't have the terminology here right now, but are considered very, very challenging to be in. So I'll leave it at that.
Here's a little bit of old information, but for when us old timers first started education many, many years ago, we got $300 extra for teaching special ed. A whopping $300 a year.
That'll help.
A lot farther.
Thank you. I have a motion to accept personnel report. Second.
Yeah.
Spalding?
I was just gonna ask him if there's any type of referral bonuses or anything like that, have we ever thought about? As far as employees that we have now, like helping them with recruiting.
Manitowoc did do that a few years ago. I'd have to investigate a little bit more on how well it went. I don't have information on that. I mean, the grapevine that I pick up is that it caused a little bit of consternation among the ranks. Some of that stuff, the bonuses and stuff like that. So I don't know, but you know, we're in a pretty good place. I mean, as you're well aware from I think my report or whatever, my director's report, we are going to have Elevate K-12 pick up a class notice manual. We have a Burgess employee as a general teacher at Madison. We have an ELA teacher at Lincoln. That's a Burgess. So we're trying to do everything we can. We're hiring somebody from the Philippines. I'll tell you what, that's a new experience. I'm learning a ton as I go through this. I'll tell you that. And hopefully it'll all go well because that could encourage us to do more because we have had a number of applicants from the Philippines, a number. So we're doing about everything that we can think about what we're doing. So I think we'll get there by September 3rd.
All those in favor of accepting the report, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. It is accepted. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the student representative's report, and I'm told the only thing she has to report on is what she's done with her summer vacation.
I can tell you that we haven't officially voted for the new representative, but I'm gonna try and get it done. Everyone's on break right now, so nobody's really checking Google Classroom or anything. So I'm technically filling as the interim representative right now, but we have 3 people nominated to be it next year, and I'm one of the 3, and the other 2 aren't interested, so it's looking like I'll probably be here next
Okay. Well, thank you.
year. Yes.
All right, we will move on then to the report of the superintendent.
The first one is director's report. There is information in there in terms of the directors would be happy to respond to any questions that you might have regarding that. Otherwise, it's there for your update. Okay, so moving to facilities. On the facilities, as a follow-up to the last action, met with my administrative team. And we were first starting to think about scheduling meetings of September, but what's really important for us to really get a good start to the academic year, keep that focus where we want it, and that's on student achievement and their development. And so in October, we're planning to meet with every building staff at their site. We also are planning immediately after that to review the condition of their building with them, as well as the condition of the district, in general. And then we will schedule some community sessions, to share the findings of the audit, as well as, our currently suggested plan for proceeding that had 3 phases. We will be wrapping 1 and 2 together, since we kind of passed that window, of borrowing and stuff like this. So we'll just roll that in for consideration for phase 2. Again, everything is open, to this. And so while we have the means of going through elementary to middle to high school was because of the excess capacity we're operating at the elementary and the middle school, there was the potential of savings. That was why we were proceeding in that order. But again, open to anything that we might discover in terms of in our review process. What we do believe is critically important is that we make arrangements to take the board, all the board members through our facility. So a picture's worth 1,000 words. Seeing it in person, I think, is really critical, and I think it's really important to see some of the condition of our facilities. And so that's something we'd like to schedule, as soon as we can, just to make sure that you have a good sense about when we're talking about that report or whatever, you can see some things firsthand. So that's what we will follow up on too. Again, our purpose, with all this is to secure support or recommend alternatives, for the board in terms of we're going through. And also in terms of if we are moving down the road where it looks like we're going to have to, and we really believe that we will need to, as was mentioned, there isn't money to resolve this stuff outside of a facilities referendum, but that is highly likely. But it's making sure that we find the most fiscally responsible solution for creating a state-of-the-art facilities that are safe and conducive to learning. You heard some feedback, today. So that's our purpose here, making sure that we do have options for the board to consider and the community to consider. Some of those options require more architectural involvement because we can recognize that something looks good, but is it possible? And that's where an architect can get involved in. It requires some of that work. In the interim, our next step is to what are we going to do summer 2025? And we don't just want to pick critical work, we want to pick critical work that we know we're going to get a return on. And so 2 things that have surfaced, and Mike is working with CESA 10, right now in terms of other items, but the roof at Lincoln and the roof at Monroe, not the roof replacement, but making the repairs necessary to keep the water out. And so that's what we're looking at now. And then whether or not there's some other critical work, we want to stay away from, if it's a possibility that a school could be decommissioned, that we aren't investing in something that we won't have, to get the return on it. So those are things we'll consider, and we'll be coming back, to the board with that. So again, I mentioned phase one, phase two, we're kind of combining those together. One of the things that you probably picked up when you were looking at some of the things we recognize, and I recognize this since I started in talking with Lee and both at the middle school and the high school in terms of our trades and the value of that, in terms of the potential of a tech center. Well, again, where might you put the tech center? At the high school? Well, right now we're looking at the high school maybe with a referendum 2040, whether or not to rebuild. And we see a need for that. And so we thought it's a great possibility that it could be connected or on the campus of a middle school. Now that's just one option. There could be others. So just that's very much on our radar as a area that we're very successful in terms of engaging both students and community trades and the like. So that's just kind of an update, and we'll continue to bring back. But I think what's really important is if we could get you out there and have you tour the facilities, with Mike and maybe a CISA 10 representative, so you have a good sense about, is there safety issues here or not? I mean, one of the comments that I recently received from one of the CISA 10 reps was that it might be better to wait for something to break than to start fixing stuff, because you could do something and right away get surprised with something that you have to deal with. But we'll want to preserve some of that money, to not just go out there and start spending it until we really know that we got a plan potentially shaping up that you're going to get a good return on that money. Yes, there is urgency here because we do see a need for additional financial support other than the operating budget, even though that could challenge our general fund and special education operations, if in fact we have to take care of critical work with no other funds. So that's just an update. We're following up kind of where we left off, and much more to bring back, and we're looking forward to getting the community, from building levels to community in general, engaged in this process. That's it.
District activity update?
District activity, we just pulled out some of the dates, some of the things were in the director's report too, just some of the highlights. I know invitations been sent out, the gathering of all the staff. Is that on the 26th? That's on Monday, breakfast presentation. That's always a big event that we encourage you to attend. There's some key dates. This is new teacher week, and many of the board members were able to be present today. And that was a great kickoff. And I would really suggest to Mike and his staff, that you did a nice job, but also to Lee and Katie and Heidi in terms of, this has been I would say, a very, very successful plan of ending strong, but recognizing now that we know so much, we can expand that, make that our own. And I'm just really impressed with all the planning that's been done. And one of our new principals that joined, and I had an opportunity to have a side conversation with her the other day. She said, I have never experienced so much support that I'm experiencing now in this school district. And that's amazing because we have some really ambitious plans, and yet they're feeling that support. So hats off to our directors.
I talked to her today too.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, we will move on to unfinished business. Policy 2264. Title IX, non-discrimination on the basis of sex and education programs or activities, tabled from the July 9th board meeting.
Lee and I talked today, maybe why don't you explain what we talked about?
So flash forward to today, kind of working backwards, we had inquiries into our attorney in regards to what to do considering injunctions and other ones. I initially contacted him. He had basically sent a note back saying your district isn't included in this right now. The primary changes in this policy are procedural in nature. That have to deal with how we conduct investigations and come to conclusions of those investigations. And the new language in those regulations actually give districts more flexibility. So at that point in time, that was the recommendation. And then, of course, we had our school names listed as, the interest group that was part of that. We did get notified that we do have a couple schools where that's the case. So, I mean, basically, in my opinion, based on what I've gotten back from the attorney, you have two choices tonight. You could keep this on the table right now until things get sorted out. Or, you know, based on his initial recommendation, you can pass it, but it's just, you know, if we're in a position where we are in injunction, the regulations wouldn't be in effect, based on the information that we have. So that's dealing with this policy. I think those are your two choices.
Mr. President, we kind of discussed this also in the committee meeting with some other policies that we're looking at, that we're letting the attorneys go over them right now. Our kids are protected as far as equal protections under the law. So they are protected, and these policies are beneath that equal protection under the law policy. These are below that, so we're protected that way. So we're just gonna leave them on the table until the courts decide what to do. Anybody can sue anybody anytime. So we'll let that get decided, and then we'll move from there.
Are you looking for a motion then, Chris, to keep them on?
We can motion to table it, or if we take no motion, it will automatically
Just say that.
reoccur on agendas unless it's a motion to table it until it's legally resolved. That would allow us not to keep putting it on the agenda until we have.
Yeah, a motion to table until it's legally resolved.
We have a motion to table until there's a legal resolution. I will second that. It's just the cleaner way than having it on the agenda every time.
Our agendas are long enough as it is.
Yes. Any other discussion?
Wow, that's yours, isn't it?
Hopefully not.
I mean, I'm not in a hurry because it's complicated stuff, but yeah, I mean, as long as we're not in violation of federal policy.
Right.
We that's what Biff was stating that we're.
But I'm just wondering if we really have to do that, because you could just leave it off the agenda. You decide the agenda, correct?
Yes, but it's not off the agenda unless it's been tabled until a particular time. Yeah.
Okay.
Just procedurally, that's the right way to do it.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way, if we're gonna wait until then and just skip over it every time. It's nice to skip a bunch of stuff, you know.
Yeah. It's like make a list is the first thing I put on my list.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, you will see that when we have legal clarity, which we'll trust will come from the experts. Now on to unfinished business B, student academic standards for the 24-25 school year. Introduced at the July 9th meeting, reviewed at the August 5th curriculum and instruction meeting.
I make a motion to accept.
So we have a motion? We have a second? Any discussion on these? Okay, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, those are approved. On to new business. Under new business, we will start with the report out for personnel and policy. Mr. Hanson.
We had to hire an HVAC
Yeah.
to help us out. And in that hiring process, Michael went through a study of some concerns he was hearing from some of the, professional technical guys that work for us. And maybe you can talk about that a little, Mike, about the wage range, and we're looking at, do we need to update that a little bit? Because some of these guys have specific skills that when we hire them, we lean on electricians, plumbers, different people, and perhaps we need to pay them or keep them. So, Michael?
If you remember, going back about 4 months, maybe 5 months, one of the things the board tasked me with was to look at our support staff relative to wages. And I did report back to you indicating that the survey that we participated in that had a number of school districts that was basically developed by and issued by Sheboygan Area School District indicated some places we were, some places we weren't. But at that point in time, I kind of said to all of you, like, I just don't see where to go with this at that time, and that's how that kind of landed. Then as Biff said, we had an HVAC person that retired, and we had to replace that person. And what Mike Schwartz and I learned very quickly was that market out there is substantially higher, as well as the survey indicated. And those two things indicated our wage range for those 5 specific positions, the HVAC, the plumber, the electrician, carpenter, and mechanic. The wage ranges were low on the beginning end, were low on the top end. The survey indicated that, the market indicated that. And at that point in time, it was deemed by Mike Schwartz and Mike Gall, we needed to take a good hard look at moving our ranges, increasing the bottom, increasing the top, and increasing the wage for 5 of our positions. And so I propose to you tonight on this document that relative to the wage ranges, we bring up the bottom by, I think it was $6 per hour, up to 26.07, and we bring up the top for our HVAC plumber electrician, I think it was $5, our electrician $4, and our mechanic and carpenter $3, and get them more in the ballpark of the market and get them more in the ballpark of that survey.
And I think what was important at the committee meeting, Matt made a good point about these rates are even lower than maybe they should be in the professional world out there, where if you're a plumber, you get this much for everything you do. Ours are a little lower, but you have to remember that our guys aren't doing plumbing work all day long for us. Right. They do it when something is needed. The electrician does it when it's needed. Yeah, why don't we contract when we need that? Well, if you have an electrician, that guy's gonna be there probably that day, fixing the problem. Or when you call somebody, you don't always know it's when they're available, when they can get there. So the wages are higher, but not as high as in that technical professional level of business, because they're not doing the job all the time.
Right, the estimated 20 hours a week, estimated, I guess, and that was, you're right, that was one, because I was looking at these wages and, as an electrician, I was wondering, how are we ever getting anybody to work for this? But, like I was clarified later, that they're not doing that specific trade work the entire time, you know what I mean? So they are doing other things. I'm not sure how that works, to be honest with you, but it's definitely better than it was. Like I said, at the very least, this increase is definitely, in my opinion, recommended.
So I would make the probably should have done it before we start discussing it, but I'll make the motion to accept the changes in the seconds.
We have a motion and a second to accept the wage changes. Any other questions or discussions?
I just think this is a great advancement for the employees of the district. In consideration also with this, I think it'd be pertinent to start talking about tracking software for our vehicles and for our staff members that are moving from facility to facility, just so that we can understand where they are and we're not having any loss of time. It's done in the healthcare industry quite readily at this point, just to make sure that we don't have any equipment that's lost or unfaithfulness of people not being where they're supposed to be. But that's another thing I have to add to this conversation.
Thank you.
Are all these current employees non-union members?
Yes.
Are they?
Right. The only union members we have in this district are our teachers. The teachers,
yeah, sort of.
they have a certified.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing none, that's accepted.
That's good.
And then second, I would move to consider the changes to the professional
handbook.
Used to be called the teacher handbook, professional staff handbook, that are proposed by Mike. So I'll move that to the board.
Okay, so you have a motion? You have a second?
The two major changes, a lot of it was kind of clerical because it hasn't really been changed over the years, but two major things is we included the nurses and counselors and psychs and OTs and PTs in the district, along with the teachers, so they're all now in that handbook. Probably the biggest change in there is on the sick leave policy, where if you've accumulated sick days, you're able to use those you can use them now for family situations. You used to get 5, you could use 5 of them. Now you can use any sick day that you've accumulated for family purposes. If your child's sick or you're taking care of a parent and that kind of thing. So those are the 2 major, I don't think there was anything else, Michael, that was.
No, the only thing I would add to this is that, I stumbled on a board policy, and it's in the bylaws, and it's like 0100 or whatever, and they have definitions in there, and it has a definition of professional staff member. Let me just quickly read this to you. An employee who implements or supervises one or more aspects of district program and whose position requires a professional credential from the state. I thought, oh, that's interesting, because that matches up with what we did.
Yeah. Isn't that maintenance as well too? I mean, are they included in this? The people we were talking, they are under that description and they require a special credential from the state.
Yeah. The plumber and electrician, they have a license, a state license, you're correct with that.
So are they included in it?
Not right now, we haven't done that.
Okay. That's all I wanted.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Thank you, sir. Hearing none opposed, that is approved.
Then we'll move on to policies. The first policy that we're going to look at is the controversial issues in the classroom. If you've read the minutes, Carrie made a motion on this and Matt did a friendly amendment, and it seemed to, then it went unanimous through our committee. I'm not right now able to pull this up for some reason to read that change, but if somebody else has it right in front of them.
It was in the minutes.
Yeah.
Let me read it from the minutes really quick. I can go back to the top. And it was, sorry, I'm almost there. It says 2240 controversial issues in the classroom. Carrie Trask, spelled properly this time, hopefully. Made a motion to remove option D from the policy. Matt Spalding made a friendly amendment to remove option D and the word substantial from the following paragraph. Carrie Trask accepted the friendly amendment. Motion passed, no objection.
Yeah, my name's spelled wrong. That's okay.
Yeah, your name's
But
spelled
it's
wrong
still
again.
me, I guess.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a minor,
Yeah, it could be.
elimination.
Substantively, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I will move that we approve that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the amended policy 2240.
I'm okay with that.
Do we have a second?
I'll say.
We have a second. Any further discussion, questions?
No, and just a clarification, at the time when you had mentioned that, Carrie, if that was, for whatever reason, it really just didn't change the meaning of it. That's why I figured.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, it just eliminates some ambiguity.
okay, yeah, that's why I find no issue in it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, say nay. Okay, that will be approved.
So then the next issue we took up were the administrative guidelines. And this is probably the one that was the most spirited discussion. And as the discussion was going on, I have to say the president made a pretty good, astute judgment that the part of the administrative guidelines that deals with parents probably should be an independent issue that should be written independently of the guideline for the issues in the classroom. So we would welcome that. Those of us who would like this removed would welcome that to come to the committee and develop those guidelines. Parents' rights, as some people call them, and talk about that separate from this. But that is the recommendation of the committee, that we would remove the administrative guidelines that dealt with things other than the issues in the classroom, controversial issues in a classroom. So I would move that we do that.
Is that a motion? We have a second?
So I would not be supporting this unless it was simultaneously incorporating the new policy for the Parents' Bill of Rights simultaneously.
I don't understand.
I will not support removing the Parents' Bill of Rights from the administrative guidelines from 2240 until it's simultaneously put into policy to support the parents' rights of the district. Is that clear enough?
Yeah.
Thank you.
My point all along was, you know, I wasn't necessarily against Parents' Bill of Rights. My whole concern was that the controversial issues policy only deals with it in the context of instruction. Whereas the administrative guidelines is much more, you know, much more broad and general. And didn't seem to have much to do with the implementation of dealing with controversial issues in an instructional environment. We're not talking about, you know, how we feel about changes in personal identity, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we're talking about how people deal with the students and teachers deal with controversial issues in an instructional context, the end. So that the administrative guidelines need to be much more specific pertaining to that.
Yes, sir.
You had sent me an email and asked me if I had any idea as to what I'd be looking for to bring it with me. So I have the exact wording and policy unbelievably written up. It's right here.
And it's
Changing this to the parental bill of rights, giving it a different number and using the same exact words. Right there, if you want to
Simultaneously
copy
emailed
it.
you and requested that be on the agenda tonight. I think you did that, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all I'm asking.
it's right there at D.
So
I guess what he's asking is if we could simultaneously agree on those. If you're gonna get rid of it there, we give it its own policy number and change the title from controversial issues in the classroom and just change it to the parental bill of rights.
Okay. Here,
That's not the motion.
I'm processing.
Yeah.
So here's what we can do. We can amend the motion to remove or to adjust the administrative guidelines as moved and take the parental bill of rights and create its own policy. Well, we won't know here today because we can't possibly, I can't believe any of them can pull it off the top of their head, is what that policy will be numbered as. As long as you're okay with the fact that we don't have an actual.
Yeah, I put question mark number,
right now.
because I'm like, whatever number you would give that.
Yeah.
But without losing the wording, we could remove it from that 2240, which was his main concern about the, being involved with the controversial issues in the classroom. Still having the protection of all of its wording within a policy, just not connected to the 2240 in the classroom.
Okay. That is your motion to
Yes,
simultaneously approve.
I would approve removing it, and I would also look for approve to give and take here. I haven't got a problem with that.
So,
Can we?
oh, hold on, I'm trying to get a second.
Clarification.
Until I get a second, then I'll try to clarify.
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion as it stands now is to remove the portions that do not deal with controversial issues in the classroom from AG 2240 and put those in their own standalone policy, Parents' Bill of Rights, to be given a policy number.
To determine whoever does that determination, I don't know.
Classification, what have you there. So that is the motion as it now stands amended.
Oh, nobody's amended it yet.
No. Mr. President,
Oh, we had a motion a second, as it would stand
But it
amended.
hasn't been.
As it would stand.
Yes, because that was a motion and a second to amend.
don't we have to vote on the first motion that was made and seconded?
You have to vote on an amendment first.
Well, we have to take the amendment first. So the motion as amended now, you would now vote on whether or not you will accept amending the initial motion that way.
Okay.
So it's the motion to amend.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the document Matt has.
Yes, you have.
Yes, you have.
I have in another context, but not in a standalone. Not as a
It's the same one.
standalone.
It's the same.
I know, I may have objections. I mean, the format for one thing, I just think it needs some work, and I think it should go to committee before it comes up for a vote. And that we should have the time.
So before your issue was the fact that it had to do with the classroom.
Right, yeah, that's the reason why I
And
wanted
go
to
through and
remove,
remove all of that
That's why I
here,
wanted to remove,
and take it out of that policy as
Right,
well.
right.
And changing the title, removing its association with the issues in the classroom, and putting it as an overall, and changing it to a parental bill of rights. That was your original issue, and that would be fixed here. I mean, that there would be nothing.
I guess certainly the motion on the table before there's any amendment is to just remove it. And, there wasn't any deal on, then slipping in another way.
Mr. President, this is the exact political posturing that just pisses me off, frankly. So there's a quite simple example here of what's going on. There was an example why they wanted to remove it, and now it's being shot down because it's not organized correctly. I don't understand your point of view, Mr. Trask, but you've been on the board the longest, and you were in the discussions last time this was brought up, and now you would like to put it back in committee when it was already approved, when you were on the board as well, and there's no changes except the policy number. This is the exact policy, this is the exact crap that just infuriates the citizens of this community.
Yeah, I know.
I know you know, that's why it's.
I know you, but the fact is that I have no objection to, a parent's bill of rights, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure that, I think I'm not sure that everything that needs to be considered on that is contained within this document.
Okay, then we could.
So
We could add to it. We
I
could definitely add to it, but at the very least, keeping everything that we have in here. Unless there is something in here that you don't think the parent should have the right to have.
I didn't study this.
'Cause
I didn't study this.
We went over this for 2 meetings and we argued about it last time, and now we're on it again. This is a 2-page document. I've read it so many times, I could practically recite it.
Yeah, okay.
It's here. If there's other things that would be contained that you'd like to discuss, great. Maybe we can add to it. But taking away from it, well, I would like to know what specifically you
Well,
want to take away
I'm
from
not
it.
prepared to say that at this point because I didn't study it in relationship to adopting it as a separate policy.
It's already policy as of right now. It's a
But Matt
guideline.
thinks I'm just doing politics.
I think that's a complete lie. You've studied it for the last few years when we went over it in committee previously
All right,
and
all right.
in the board at
Whatever.
hand. It's an example of exactly.
I'm
what we
willing to
don't want.
work with you on this.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to lose the protection that I have as a parent or any other parent in this community.
Okay.
Mr. Hanson.
So when we considered this last time and discussed it, we all know it was very controversial to this board. Okay? There's an opportunity here to look at that parent's bill of rights, as you call it, and see if we can come up with something that we can all agree on. Okay? I say we bring this back to committee and we talk about that.
Okay, then will you agree to table the other decision
No.
before we take it?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Because this is a separate issue. But here's the deal. When we talk about a parent's deal of rights, let's make sure that all parents are included in that and all kids are included in that. And that's something that we have to go through and we have to look at and make sure that it's fair to everybody.
Removing any part of this here, unless you're not in favor of it, It doesn't make sense to me. And if you're not in favor of it, then speak up and tell me what part of this parental paper that you're not in favor of.
I mean, I don't think we need this.
Just like I asked him, he's just not prepared to say it in front of a crowd.
Why? Say why?
Your opinion is it's fine, and that's okay, Matt. That's your opinion, that's your beliefs.
Great,
Okay, but that may not be the belief of other people.
okay?
Having been here, parents have always had rights. They've always had the ability to make changes for their child.
Why rescind it then?
Because that isn't what we used to do. There are parts in there that may be offensive to some of us, so let's talk about it in committee and come up with a Bill of Rights that includes everybody, that everybody can be happy with. Nobody's saying parents should have rights. What we're saying is every parent should feel comfortable looking at that Bill of Rights that you have.
Okay, I mean, let's hear some examples of parents feeling uncomfortable. Not one person in here today is a current parent that was uncomfortable with this.
Okay.
But there may be other things.
Hold on.
Mr. President,
Yes.
can I make a motion to table this?
If you move to table it right now, you would be moving to table the motion to amend.
To amend, yeah.
Believe it or not.
Okay.
Of course, if you move to motion to table, if you move to table the motion to amend, you effectively table everything, because if we're not amending it and we're not resolving the amendment, then we can't go on to the actual
The original.
deal. And I would ask you, if you want to move to
Can you
table.
explain that to me a little bit? slower
Okay,
one
so,
time? I'm
yeah,
a
no,
little
that's,
tired here.
I know, and it's.
It's like a tree right now. Right now, we're underneath that portion.
Right. So if you table the change, you invariably table the actual motion. Because if we can't vote on the change, we can't vote on the motion because the change has to be resolved first. I would ask you to hang on to that motion for just 1 second so that I can recognize Mr. Shaw, who's been
I'm
patient.
just gonna call a question on the amended motion.
Well,
Amended motion, the motion is the table right now.
yeah. I don't know, I can't tell. Oh, Tony has his hand up. Tony? Thank you.
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm just curious, if I heard you right, it sounded like you said that you wanted to make sure this included all students or all parents, and I'm just struggling to make that connection there. Could you clarify that, please? Like, who's not included by this Parents' Bill of Rights?
I think he's addressing you good.
I will have to go back and look at it, but why was it controversial, Tony, when we did it the first time? Why was it a 4-3 vote if there's nothing in there that some people object to?
I don't think it was that controversial.
I think it was if it was 43 and we did 2 meetings to get through it.
It was 4-2 because one was missing. Who knows how it went? It could have been a 5-2.
Yeah, I guess I just don't see anything that's too controversial in here, really at all. I mean, I think you guys dragged it out longer than it had to, but.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Even though I know Anger's.
He's already had that on it.
I mean, obviously, it's quite clear what's going on from my perspective, and I think that we've talked about this. I understand, I would be fully in favor of bringing it to another meeting, but I don't want to simultaneously lose something that I believe is in the best interest of the parents of the district by removing it from the administrative guidelines, and then hoping that it comes back through the committee. So I'm completely in favor of wrestling with it and having a meeting about it, but I don't want to lose it completely and then restart over from scratch.
I agree.
So that's why I would be
Motion
asking
to
to
table.
table it.
Yeah, and just speaking to the second, all of the things that are concerned here in the Parents' Bill of Rights actually exist in other policies, in other places in the district. However, if it reassures people for us to clearly have the administrative guidelines and clearly have the Parents' Bill of Rights, whatever it is it a policy, is it a guideline, is it an official district document for parents, or however it takes its final form, at the same time, if that's what works, then that's the best to me, that's the best way forward.
Good.
So that's why I'm supporting the motion to table, and it does not preclude it being worked on by committee in the meantime.
And if this does pass, obviously, lower on the agenda here is the Parents' Bill of Rights. So theoretically, then it could be passed, and then on the next meeting, it could be rescinded from 2240. That would only logically make sense to me. So.
Oh, because it's further down on the
Well,
table?
no, because we can talk about it after this now, and then we can.
On the agenda. We could, otherwise just sending it all back to the committee to come up with some
No,
sort
it's a
of
different agenda item, right?
It is.
So then theoretically, it can be proposed in the next agenda item, and then it can be passed, and then next meeting, we can rescind it from 2240. That's all I'm saying. It's exactly the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish.
How can we keep amending and amending and amending when we haven't voted on the call to question on the first amended motion? How
You
can,
didn't have a call to question.
well, I did call it.
Nobody seconded it.
Nobody
It's
seconded
gone.
it, yeah. Nobody, we didn't vote on it.
I don't think you have to second.
But
Yes, you
but
did.
right now, we are at tabling the amendment which tables the motion. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay?
I second.
I understand your frustration, but Matt surrendered his recognition so that you can get a chance to talk, and then I felt it was only appropriate to give him the opportunity to do his table in advance because he really was in queue earlier on that. So I'm just gonna get us to it here. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
No.
So we have 2 noes and 5 to table.
Carrie, what did?
Carrie, you voted to table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that is tabled. I encourage it going back and both being looked at by committee. Okay.
Next thing we're bringing forward is a fob policy, and the recommendation of the committee is to get rid of the fobs for school board members. I move that we adopt that.
So we have a motion and a second.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Keith
Oh, Keith,
immediately
okay.
seconded. Because he was frustrated with me not letting you get the other. So,
Okay.
anybody?
Yeah, I mean, my stance has been quite clear from the beginning about this. This was brought forward from transparency of the community. When I was elected, we had a great discussion about it. Me and Mr. Kerry Trask worked through this in committee for a number of hours. We came to a resolution. We gave give and take. We came to an applicable decision about the hours and all the guidelines around it. It seemed pretty equitable for everybody involved. We kind of hailed it as a success between me and Kerry. I thought it was a great development between me and him. And it went over pretty well, to be honest with me. And a lot of the community members that talked to me said that it was our job to be involved. And obviously that was brought up quite readily to me, and I would be supporting to keeping the fobs. I don't think there's anybody that has abused it at this point, and any disgruntled claims brought against the district at this point, and I think it just helps the transparency of the district.
I have never spoken with anybody that hasn't given me favorable comment for this as well too, so I'll be in support of it as well.
In support of maintaining.
Yeah. Tony? Go.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we would get rid of this. I mean, to me, it seems like as a school board member, we have every right to be in any building whenever we want to. And I guess I'm just struggling to understand the reasoning other than people being pissed off about decisions that were made before they got on the board, why someone would do this.
We have had issues with fobs in the district. So that is my reason, and my other reason is, why are we any better than a parent or anybody else that pushes the button when they walk in the building? I've been on the county board for 24 years. I don't have a key to any county board building. You need to get in, you make a phone call, somebody lets you in, and then they know you're in that building, and they know your purpose for being there. So I don't know why we have to have entrance to every building. You want to get in, you push the button like Mr. and Mrs. Smith when they want to see their kid. We should be treated the same.
Yeah, I chaired the committee that came up with this original policy, but I haven't seen the utility of it at all in any kind of effective way that it's added quality to anybody's perceptions. It's really led to greater transparency. I just don't see where it has served any particularly useful purpose, that's all.
Yes.
So all I'll say is I think this is another example of the political posturing between the groups, trying to define what their control is. And I've never got into this to try to control people. And I can see that this vote is the same thing in that manner, to try to take power where there's no problem. So I will be obviously not supporting removing this, because this wasn't brought up from committee. This was brought up from a person on the board that's not happy with it. And this is what happens. So I will be standing trying to communicate to the community that this is not hurting or helping the children. This is not about the children. This is about political power.
Tony is up there.
Tony?
Yeah, I'd like to add, I agree with what Biff said, that, we should be treated the same, but we're also elected members of the community, and we have a right to be in the buildings whenever we would like to be. And, I think there's an accountability mechanism that's inherent in that. And I think it would be foolish for us to not have this. It wasn't too long ago, before I got on the board, that there was political propaganda on the walls in our middle schools. That's not there anymore. Okay, so that's just one example of a potential benefit, right? We all agree that we don't want that stuff in our schools. And, from my perspective, this brings an accountability mechanism that is helpful, and something that could keep pushing us in the right direction and our focus in the right areas.
Okay, I will take the vote in just a second. I simply want to say that personally, I like having the fobs. It's a great thing to have so that I can buzz right in if it's raining. It's not raining that often, but it's nice when it happens. However, having said that, the only argument I have for keeping the fobs is when it's raining. The argument I have against the fobs is the vast number of people I have heard from that do not agree with the board having fobs, both in the public and among staff. So I will, while it's inconvenient for me, I will support the amendment to the policy. Having said so, all those in favor of amending the policy signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that's 4-3, and it will be so amended.
I think that's all we got.
All right, so next we have the report out on curriculum and instruction.
All right. The superintendent presented the committee with a set of goals in academic achievement in math and reading. And the elementary schools and middle schools were set at an increase in quality, in quality in achievement of 15%. The high school was 15%, and then McKinley was at 10, and I made the suggestion that we're not serving their interests by underestimating them. That I served on the board for quite a long time, and the thing is that the McKinley kids were always regarded as a kind of an academic and intellectual leper colony, and I think that has to stop, and they have to be held to the same kind of goals as the rest of the school district, or they will be kind of encouraged to be an intellectual leper colony. No offense to lepers, that's just a metaphor. But so I propose that we hold McKinley to making gain in academic performance by 15% like everybody else. So I'd like to make the motion that we adopt that as part of the goals. And that's sort of my reasons.
So if I understand correctly, your motion is to accept the 2024-25 school district goals from the superintendent with the amendment of increased McKinley Academy reading and math proficiency by levels of 15% instead of 10.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Is that for like the next school year, or are we putting that right on with this one already? I mean,
That's this coming school year.
It's upcoming.
Yeah. So we have a motion to get you to discussion and a vote. I will second.
I think it's a lofty idea and it's great, pie in the sky idea.
Oh, do you think so?
And if it works, that's amazing. Put it on paper, and if it helps everybody feel equitable, great. But if we don't meet it, it'll be the reality of not meeting it. But I think it's very noble of you to make that, it's great.
Anybody else? Then we'll go immediately to the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Sorry, Tony. Hearing none unopposed, that will pass.
All right, the other issue that came up was granting authority to the library professionals to advance to preparing a library plan. And that's what I'd like to make the motion that the full board simply authorize the librarians to do their job.
Second.
Is that really your motion?
Well,
Authorize the librarians to do their job?
Of course, no, but
Okay, so.
that's my comment.
Okay, let's have the motion.
So the motion is that the librarians, the Manarock Public School District librarians, proceed with,
The MPSD library plan proposal?
Yeah, MPSC library plan proposal.
Yes. Did you want to second that?
I did.
Or just them doing their job?
Do that.
Okay. All right. Any discussion?
I'd like to say something.
Tony?
I agree with Carrie. I would also like the library staff to do their jobs. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way, but I'm reading through this document and I see by the end of the school year 26, 27. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, is this something that's really going to take 2 years to do? Like, why can't this be done in a couple weeks or like a month? Serious question.
I guess that makes sense. I don't know why. Does it take 2 years to do this? I don't think anybody's.
I'm under the impression that the deadline for having that be submitted to yeah, is already passed. Is that right, Heidi? Or?
So the memo that was drafted by the team states by the end of the school year 26-27, the school district team will create book selection guidelines and a collection development plan that supports district literacy.
I see that. Yeah.
This was their proposal that they wrote the plan for the DPI under. There's no representatives from that team here, so I can't speak to the reason they chose that particular timeline. If it's suggested that they move that timeline up, I would be happy to work with that team to see if that indeed could be done sooner, if that would be the pleasure of the board.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they came before the end of the school year and asked about this and intended to work on it during the summer, is what they said. And at that time, wanted to have something, a draft at least on August 15th. And it has to be done. DPI insists that it has to be done. I don't know if August 15th is any deadline, but my sense is that, well, it has to be done before 26 and sent to DPI to be.
Well, yeah, the plan itself is what has to be sent to DPI. So when you pass it, we'll send that on to them. They'll have the plan on file. What I'm saying is if the board has a desire to move up the timeline in the plan, that is something that I can work with our team to do.
What is the timeline now?
It says by the end of the school year 26, 27.
Yeah, it does say by the end of the school year.
In those goals. So I can talk with the team about moving that timeline up and what it would take to put this together, if that is what the board would like.
Yeah, I guess instead of us giving them like, come up with it, maybe they could explain to us at least as to why maybe they chose that or can it be moved up?
Correct.
Because it does seem like that's 2.5 years from now, just to figure out.
My best guess is that's in compliant with Wisconsin statute 43.70, parent 3. That's probably when it says you have to be done.
I liked all the words on this document here with the plan. The only thing I was in concern of is the books that are in our district already that feel like it's kind of vague in general what Mr. Tennis just said, address the age appropriate criteria at each grade level. I am in support of what the words are here. However, I wouldn't mind seeing addition, retroactively evaluating all the, because once they're in, they're in. And I think that's what's kind of the red flags from the parents have been, they've been uncovering these books that are already approved. And once they're already approved and in the system, the process for removing them, obviously, there is a process. However, if it could have been addressed before they got in, obviously, that's why there's a solution being presented now because of the lack of the system being in place for so long. That's my judgment and observation of this, that I wouldn't mind seeing additional. However, I do like to see them have their own sovereignty to be able to develop a plan. And if they can present that they are retroactively or making sure that it is age appropriate with another update or something, but how do I know that from this point on after I make my vote? So.
Well, I would say, sorry.
Tony?
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Matt was saying, I'm just really concerned more so with that first point, right? With some of the books that have been brought to light. You heard earlier in public input some of the stuff that's in our libraries today, and I don't want to wait 2 or 3 years to fix that. I feel that's something that we could probably address in the next couple of weeks, before school starts. So some of the other stuff, if it takes longer, whatever. But I mean, to me, I couldn't in good conscience just, allow that stuff to continue.
But that's two separate things, Tony. I mean.
Not really. I mean,
it's two separate things.
On the plan.
The plan is, but you want specific action taken on books that you regard as inappropriate, and if we're going to address that, we have to address it separate from the business of developing the plan. I mean, the plan is future. You've already said this. Yeah.
Read point one. Point one says 26, 27 for the age appropriateness, right? So really, what point one, if we pass this, what this means is that we're going to sit here and wait, 2 or 3 years for them to figure that out. And who knows how many other books are going to be coming into our system that are going to have similar or worse content. So I think my concern is pretty reasonable. Like,
I believe there's a process to take books out of the library if a parent has a concern right now. This is to let the library come up with a plan. I'm sure it'll be done before 26, 27, but that's the state deadline. Hopefully by talking to them and finding out, hey, when are you busy? What are you doing? You got to get this group together. They can up that timeline. But we already have a process, if you don't like a book in the library, to take it out. This is just forming the committee to come up and review those things. That's all they're asking to do.
I understand that, what you're saying, Biff. I guess what I'm saying is I would like that process to be more proactive to begin with, so that we don't end up in situations where we have to have parents request to have books removed.
That is part of this committee, is they look at how books are chosen to go into the library. They look at the whole procedure. That's the purpose of this.
And I want it faster than 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. President, I'm going to again call the question. We've gone over this. We have talked about this ad nauseum. We've said the same thing over and over and over. Nobody's changed their minds. We're calling a question on Carrie's motion that was seconded.
Okay, so we have call the question. You're going to second
I'll second it.
his motion? Okay, the official rules on calling the question, stay with me, everybody. The official rules on calling the question is we actually vote on calling the question, which means we vote on ending debate and then voting immediately after we vote for this. And a call the question vote requires a 2/3 majority to move on. So on the call of the question, a 2/3 vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed say nay.
Nay.
I vote aye.
Voted aye.
It passed.
Okay. Mr. Spalding, you were an A?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure I getting the numbers right. Right, so that's 2/3. Okay, so on the original motion, which was to approve the plan, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Nay.
Okay. There we have it. And I'm confident our librarians will not hit 26, 27. And I am equally confident they are carefully weeding their collections because their space is really, it's precious in our school libraries. And they want to get out what they don't want to have there to make room for what they do want. All right. Moving on to C, recognition of board council services, information, discussion, possible action.
Yeah,
This was
thank you.
requested by Mr. Shaw.
It would have probably come out of facilities and business, but our timeline is real short. When I got this notice from the business office, the date is August 18th, when the actual contract, it's not really a contract, but it's just a letter of agreement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the letter of agreement between our legal services that we have right now between Von Briesen and Roper expires. So with that, I think that the history is that the Board of Education had up until the year 21-22, we were with a single law firm representing the Manitowoc Public School District and the Board of Education. It changed at 21-22 and they split. The board split their representation from Von Briesen Roper, and they also split with Belo and Vetter for all special education and pupil services law, which is a tremendous amount of work on that law firm, because most legal aspects in the districts are going to come through probably pupil services, 504 recognition, IDEA. But also, I think it's important to note that with the compliance of these laws, ADA, IDA, OCR, 504, Chapter 34, Congressional Federal Rules and Regulations, that a single entity, just special ed and regular ed are not too separate anymore. I think a lot of the legal things that come to a district and to a board of education, because the legal representation is for the Board of Education. There's a lot of loops. There's a lot of working that has to be done together. So with that, I'm prepared to make a motion. I'd like to first of all thank Van Briesen and Roper for all of their work. I think they've served the district well. But I also think that we need to go back and look at a single law firm that has expertise both in the special education pupil services, regular education services, general law, because like I said before, most times in the district, the laws pass over, and that communication, I think, is easier when a law firm walks down the hall or crosses the hall to get that expertise than having to play phone tag with two separate law firms. I don't understand the two separate law firms. That was before my time. I just know that it's easier working with a single entity than two separate entities, especially when the laws are starting to be so united in their makeup. Like I said, it's not just an easy draw anymore. They start manipulating together and working together. So I'm prepared to make a motion that Mr. Christopher Abel, President of the Manitowoc Public Board of Education, enter an agreement with the law firm of Below and Vetter for all legal matters resolving the Manitowoc Public School District and the Manitowoc School Board and the district. This would begin as soon as close to August 19th, 2024, with Attorney Mary Gerbig and Attorney Jim Carroll, both expertise and specialists in their right, serving that law firm. So that is my motion, and those are my reasons for making it.
Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
We have a second.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm
Like,
going, I mean, you said they service well.
On the 18th.
For who and what services do they provide? Do they provide the expulsion services, or do they provide the general counsel?
Roper, their contracts with us is up on that date, August 18th.
What do they do? Which one?
August 18th.
No, I know the date now. What services do they provide for the district?
What services do they provide now?
Yes, what legal?
They
services do provide for
service
the district?
a portion of our district for regular education and general law, while the other one services the pupil service responsibilities and legal. So we have two separate law firms
I understand.
serving the district, but my motion is to bring it to one law firm, because one law firm has expertise in all of it.
Okay, so my question was, what services do they provide right now? The one that's up in August 18th?
Which one is up for August
Yes.
18th?
Which-
Yeah.
What services does
What legal services do they provide? The expulsion side of it, or? other
Mary
services?
Gerbig handles the expulsion side. She handles the OCR 504 ADA compliance laws. She services Chapter 34 congressional federal rule laws. And right now, the other services, just general law and general board requirements. The firm that I'm suggesting services all of it, with specialty in pupil services, and with the other attorney has specialty in general law, contractual law, service laws. So we're going to one firm for all of the services, rather than two separate services.
Oh, that's a lot of research to have done just to bring that up. Sorry, go ahead,
It's
yeah.
not difficult.
To continue to that, so why isn't this come through committee?
Because we aren't going to have a committee report meeting before the 18th.
But we have no information here except board council services, no attachments, no service fees, nothing, anything like that. And I thought we were big on going into committees now, and now we're doing this as a whole board of a whole. It just doesn't, that's my first point. I want to make apparently obvious that this is not going through committee. And this seems like this is coming out of left field because there's an agenda behind it, but I don't know. I'm just trying to wrestle through it together. So your argument is that we have too many services from two different law firms that we can house under one roof, and we should consolidate our services. Do we have any issues with the services from the two different legal right now? I would ask that to our administrative team.
Well, we do have services. All the
No,
other.
no, I asked, do we have complaints or issues with our services?
Yeah, what do we do?
That's my question to the administrative team.
We've not had, just a clarification here. When I came in, we had three law firms coming in. Three.
Yeah.
Okay, and the one that we're currently using that Mike Nault works extensively with, and then the other firm that was just referenced. Both of those law firms, I believe, offer comprehensive services in both special ed and general ed. I elected not to include it under the law firm that is our general one that we've used, because I felt we, like the specialty work there, we are working very closely with, so I kept them separate. It's not uncommon sometimes where a particular law firm could be very strong in a particular area of the law. We've not had problems, neither one. I believe both are capable of doing. Oh, I've worked with the other firm before in a previous assignment, and very reputable, as many others are in the state.
There's no objections to making any adjustments? Is there a difference in fees or?
Are you saying that you've worked towards, like, I don't remember, what was the name of the one you said?
Our current one or the?
No, the one that you're proposing?
The one that I'm proposing is below and better. Mary Gerbic is with them. Our attorney for all pupil services law is with that law firm.
Okay.
Expulsion.
Oh, okay, that's the expulsion.
Yeah. Anyway, I have my own opinion. It just, she was an expert at the expulsions, the
Right.
protocol. She was like the judge. However, for the specialty stuff, I would much be open to having, the services that we had already. I don't have any objections to it from the community, from the administrative staff. Why would I take resources away
I
from
just
them?
want to know, why are we doing that? Like, I mean, but we haven't had any issues. How about the one that he said, have we worked with them beyond expulsions?
Our current one, that Mike works primarily with, I mean, that's where a lot of the personnel matters are discussed, sometimes with Mike and some of the investigations that we've had. Special education law as it's pertaining to expulsions, we've used that one. We were using that one when I came in, and I elected, to the extent of eliminating one, but not considering both, just because I felt we had a preference there. We had a good working rapport. I know that Mike has a good working rapport with our current, attorney, and has worked with him in the past. So there are benefits, when you have a good connection with an attorney in terms of resolving some issues. I've not had any complaints. But I believe, that.
I don't believe that I said you did. I
No,
just
I
said
didn't
that I
say
think
either.
it's,
I
I
just
just think
responded to the question.
that for services to a district and to a board, when so many laws are looped together, the communication is extremely important, especially with the litigious society that wants to sue for everything. When you have that kind of environment, it's nice for our attorneys, who are the specialists in those areas, to work together to help our board. Remember, the board hires the attorney. The board is responsible, that attorney is responsible to the board to help us. Why don't we want specialists and a level of communication right in the same law firm than playing a game with two different law firms? Mary Gerbic probably is one of the most widely respected attorneys for pupil services, ADA 504, every pupil service compliant issue in the state. She's widely recognized from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. She speaks all over the state on her behalf of pupil services. We're lucky to have her representation for our board because she provides a great service. All I'm saying is her counterpart in the same law firm is also a specialist in general law, general education law, contractual law, legal law. Why not join that set of services representing our board? I never said our existing service was bad. And Matt, I'm sorry you think every time somebody brings up a motion that there's a potential underlying feeling that we're out to get you.
Then why would you bring it up?
Because the contract expires August 18th.
And I would like to renew it.
Okay.
Mr. Spaulding, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. Honestly, and I know Tony wants to speak after this, Tony, so I apologize for this right now, but there was no way to prepare. I have no idea I didn't know this was even gonna be a discussion, so unless I can do some research as to what's going on and maybe look into the other portion of that other law firm that he's talking about, I motion to table.
I second, obviously, the motion.
So we have a motion and a second to table.
We've got a week before the contract is, yeah.
Tony, even though we have
Yeah.
the table there, I'm going to give you a chance to speak, please.
Thank you. I agree with what Matt Phipps was saying. I think that this should come through committee, and I understand our contract's up, but I'm sure that they probably would work with us, both firms, to give us a month or something, right? I mean, this just seems like it's kind of rushed, and there's really no information other than the words coming out of Keith's mouth right now. So I would favor tabling it and putting it through committee.
Then after the 18th, you have no representation.
As far as the contract, but I don't think that would be the case as far as us not being. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with these firms for years. Like, they're not just gonna say, screw you guys,
They're not gonna
right?
dump-
I mean, just
You've worked
say,
for
hey,
this
we gotta go
firm,
through committee, like, extend it a month, right?
you've
Whatever.
worked for this firm for 3 years. You've never worked with this firm until 21-22 school year.
Okay.
Okay, so
I just think
do
it's
something with your motion.
to the motion to table. Any other discussion?
I think there was nothing wrong with the services that were provided. I think this is a strategic move. The interpretation of the law from one lawyer to another is different. I think this is a great example of how somebody on the board is not happy with the interpretation of one law firm's legal opinion, and they would like to consolidate under one roof. I have nothing wrong with Mary and her services. Done a great job. I just think that we don't need to change what we have already. We have good representation. We haven't had any complaints. This is a political posturing as well, and that's my opinion.
I just need to be prepared. I had no idea this was even gonna be a thing.
Okay, but before I call the question on the table, actually the question on tabling, not the question on the table, I apologize.
Right.
I would just like to know from anybody who may, whether or not, if we neither cancel nor renew this evening, is there a retainer that we automatically pay on the 18th?
No. I mean, we would put this on, we could get it on the committee agenda for Monday. And then we would just continue with the services. Annually, we renew and reaffirm who our counsel is. So,
Okay.
So you could do that.
And I'm sure they would understand if there isn't clarity by, is it the 18th, the 15th, when does this expire? 18th, okay. All right, and I needed to know that because my standard, as you all so frustratingly know, is if people want more time, I always want to give more time to make a more informed and more thought-through decision. Okay, so all those in favor of the table signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed?
No. Aye.
Yeah, it would be, well, actually, no, it's the right one. Okay, so it's tabled 4-3. And we will see that coming forward at the next Facilities and Finance meeting. Okay. Parents' Bill of Rights. I would hope.
What do you have there, Matt?
This was what I, for as far as the wording. Now, I'm okay with talking about it now, but I'm also okay with continuing in the direction that we did before to come up with something, but I stand firmly in the fact that I don't want to approve either one unless we have some sort of a compromise. I don't want to lose these words.
So I would make a motion to move the Bill of Rights that was written as in the administrative guidelines, which are right there, into policy.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a second.
The reason why is obviously I've explained it earlier is simultaneously you'd have to do it by adding something before you remove it completely. Otherwise, you don't know if it'll come back in a different version or I would be completely opening to letting this go back to committee after it's considered a policy for the Parents' Bill of Rights in the appropriate numbering and range of policy that it needs to be. I just would like to not lose the merit of it completely. I think it's very simple to ask. I don't think I'm trying to be very controversial, but obviously there's somebody that thinks it's controversial.
Just to clarify, I guess technically you're not really adding anything, because it's already, I mean, this is a guideline, it's been tabled. It's still a guideline. You want to
like to turn this
into, and turn this into the Parents' Bill of Rights, get it a code as far, or get it a policy number as far as that, and add it. So it'd be almost like we have a guideline and we have a policy that's duplicate. And then when it's brought up to remove it from there,
It would be removed.
it would be removed from there.
Yes.
Because you would have it in two places. You'd just be adding it once, and then removing it another. That's
If
kind of
that's the will of the board after it comes back to the agenda.
Okay, yeah, that made sense. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's what we're talking about.
Can I amend the motion to send it to the committee for discussion and then bring it back to the board? Is that possible to do?
Yeah.
Are we gonna sit here and argue this out for the next hour?
No.
Do we bring it in, send it to the committee where it should go if it's a policy?
It was my understanding from the previous motion that passed that we were sending both to be cleaned up, clarified, and set, rather than do one or the other, do them together.
I accept that amendment.
Okay, accepts that amendment, or to go back to the other. So, any other discussion on that?
Thank you, Bill.
So the motion now is?
The motion now is to send it back to the committee.
To be cleaned up and protected.
Yeah.
As presented as a big policy.
Okay.
It's presented via new policy, the bill, Parents' Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we need to vote on that?
We're going to. Okay, we're gonna, so, because we have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
So, all those in favor of this going back to be worked on, I presume, at personnel policy.
Yep. Presented as a.
Say aye.
Presented as a policy.
And presented as a policy. Thank you, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that's where it will next be considered. All right, moving on to other business. First, and I do not believe this is a typo, but just how really forward-looking some people in this
Yeah,
district
really.
are. Future meeting dates, the quarter century and retirement celebration on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025.
I have to get that acceptance, so the
So they-
board has to approve that, so I can give them the go-ahead to save the date.
Oh,
Right.
wow,
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
So,
Approve. Second.
yeah.
second, please don't have discussion on. Okay, we already have a second, but thank you, sir. Okay, I thought you were raising your hand to discuss. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right.
All right. That exhausts our, yes, sir.
It is probably my fault, because in the directors, I had asked Mike, I probably missed it, I'm not sure how I missed it, but to give a quick facilities update on Appendix A, what has happened this summer, what the schools had all been worked on, and what possibly might be on the agenda. So I apologize, but I'd like to bring Mike up to share that information, if it's okay.
Sure, you got 30 seconds. Go.
I told him you said 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What? I took away 4 minutes, 30 seconds because you didn't get it right.
You was talking about before.
Go. Minutes a minute, buddy, come on.
Some of the projects we've been working on, Appendix A, I don't have it in front of me, but that was most of the work on Jefferson. And the main thing that we did there was the lighting update project that was completed last week. And the school was just transformed to how nice it looks. There's a potential payback there about 5 to 6 years. That 79,000, I think that's about what it ended up at for the total project on there. A little bit under what they had bid. So anyway, that's complete. School looks great. Payback, we should consider doing that in every one of our buildings because it just would be saving us money long term. Some of the, we put a new kiln in there. completed window screens, we fixed some of that. So we didn't do a whole lot on that from what we originally wanted to do with the $1.2 million, because I'm feeling, because we don't know what the board's desire is gonna be as far as moving ahead with all of the other buildings and that stuff. So I'm really trying to save some of the money here. So whatever direction you guys decide to go, we'll have money to be remodeling and fixing some of our repairs that we need. Some of the other things that we did, JFK, if anybody's been in there lately, it's really nice. So that all started with the track. And as long as we're doing the track, then it's $50,000 to redo the basketball court. It really looks sharp in there. Again, we did all new lighting in there too, the LED, and just brightens it up so much in there. Pool, also, there hasn't been much done on that pool in a couple of years. Lincoln Pool? Lincoln Pool, oh yeah. As far as filters and all of that, so along with that, we recoated the sides with epoxy. We fixed several of the cracks in there. That seems to be the problem all the time when those pools start to crack. That causes all the trouble. So we've got the cracks fixed. We should be in good shape for about 10 years. A new timing system just went in for when the swimmers touch the pad. That was just finished today. So that pool's in great shape over there. And that mezzanine floor up there where the dance, is that for dance or something?
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics.
Classes.
That's chipping up, and the gymnasts are getting that in their feet, the paint chips and all that. So we just contracted today with Lee's Color Studio. They're gonna blast all of that off and recoat the floor on there. So that'll be a nice looking floor, and the safety aspect will be much better in there. That's it. 1 second.
You did good. You've been doing a lot of work, Mike. Thank you.
It's been a busy summer in spite of all of this, so.
JFK looks really good. I would have been in there practicing, and it just looks so much better than it did at the end of last year. It was crazy walking in there, so looks really good.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
It just
Everything looks very nice in the report. Everything looks great too. Buildings I've seen look fantastic. You know I have to ask this question because I can't not ask it. Lincoln's leaky window.
As far as the roofs are concerned, we're doing, tomorrow I'll be there with CISA, and we're gonna be looking at which roofs to repair to keep the leaking out that way. I'm hoping to just patch some of the roofs and take that money and address that east wall where everything is leaking with the windows and the masonry and that. I was surprised last year when I just started here, one of the projects that were passed along to me was the tuck pointing of Lincoln, and it was the west wing facing north. None of that was leaking at all. That money should have been spent over on that other side. That wall's moving a lot, and we need to address that very soon.
Yes.
That the masonry is actually pushing out on there, moving the windows with it, and
I've been hearing from Lincoln High School students for 2 years now.
I can attest to that.
So can I, because I'm the one hearing from them. So we gotta stop.
Yep.
Thank you.
We will be looking at that. And along with that, I'm going to encourage the board that you come through and take a look at the buildings, see what we've got there. And hopefully we can have a speedy decision on moving forward, because right now I'm kind of sitting in a holding pattern, and I think we're spending money in the right spots right now. And I'm looking forward to some direction.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Okay, thank you, sir. Should have requested to amend the agenda. Okay, now what we have left is a closed session, public's awareness. It is not anticipated that any action will arise coming out of closed session. The only action that would be taken after closed session would be to adjourn. You're perfectly welcome to stick around and come back in and watch us adjourn or not. Okay, so Board of Education will now vote to convene in closed session for the purpose of considering the following matter, considering the appointment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This meeting is authorized pursuant to section 1985, parent 1, parent C of the Wisconsin State Statutes. The matter to be discussed in closed session is superintendent evaluation matters. I am looking for a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All right, we now have to do a roll call vote to go in.
Christopher Abel.
Aye.
Biff Hansen.
Aye.
Matthew Phipps. Keith Shaw.
Aye.
Matthew Spalding.
Yay.
Carrie Trask.
Aye.
Tony Dostelica. Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. And, oh,
I do have
at 8:05 then, we are adjourning to closed session. I will give people a few moments to take care. Coach, you already-
I do. I just